Hello, my name is Julia Brown, and today I will be discussing the case study simulation, Chantelle. The briefing states that Chantelle is the 16-year-old only child of Peter. Peter has a busy political career and Chantelle's father is seldom home as he works internationally. Historically, Chantelle has been described as a happy and compliant young person. She has never previously behaved in a way that has overtly challenged or conflicted with her parents. Recently, Peter has become concerned by what she calls Chantelle's irritability and uncharacteristic moodiness. Peter says Chantelle has been neglecting her schoolwork and it shows in her grades. Another point of concern is that lately Chantelle has been skipping school. Peter has presented Chantelle to a psychologist, myself, and has asked me to look at what's going on and help her rediscover her joyful self. What Peter doesn't know is that Chantelle has entered into a relationship with a 25-year-old woman that she met online, and through her new girlfriend has connected with a group of supportive gay friends. Chantelle has thought for some time that she might be gay, but was afraid of admitting so to herself and others. She fears rejection from her mother and others. Her family are conservative, both religiously and politically, and believe that homosexuality is morally wrong. This is the first time Chantelle has ever challenged her parents before. As the treating psychologist, it is important that I consider the ethical implications of this case and treat them in a manner that befits a psychologist, as outlined in the APS ethical guidelines. These guidelines focus on 3 ethical principles: respect, propriety, and integrity. The ethical issues that arise from my first glance at the briefing are written on the screen. Each of these statements relates to the areas of ethical judgment I will be focusing on. Firstly, I must look at confidentiality. Confidentiality is discussed in section 8.5 of the ethical guidelines, which outlines that it is the duty of a psychologist to safeguard the information obtained during the practice of psychology services. Confidential information can only be disclosed with the consent of the client, when the psychologist is under legal obligation to do so, or if there is an immediate risk of harm that can only be averted by the disclosure of that information. This brings me to my question: is Chantelle safe at home, and will her parents find out about her sexuality? As Peter is the one who referred Chantelle to me and pays for the sessions, she may feel entitled to know what is being discussed. However, Chantelle is the client and it is her confidentiality that I am protecting. In practice, I would separately discuss confidentiality with Peter and Chantelle at the outset of the professional relationship. I would ask Chantelle's consent that I discuss a treatment plan with her mother without disclosing her sexuality. And I would make sure that Chantelle understands that I will not break confidentiality simply because her mother requests it. Another ethical issue I saw in the briefing was the age gap between Chantelle and her partner. Large age gaps can lead to an unhealthy power imbalance in relationships. There is an inherent power dynamic between someone who is still in school and someone who left some time ago, which could lead to problems such as intimate partner violence down the line. However, the relationship is legal. The age of consent in Victoria is 16. If Chantelle was in the care of her partner, say if her partner was a nurse, teacher, or guardian, then it would be illegal. But as this is not the case, their relationship is permitted by the law. APS section B.1.2 states that psychologists must comply within the law, and in this case, it is wisest to consider that the law be the ethical standard set for this example. However, in practice, I would consider the power imbalance and the risk that it poses to Chantelle throughout my treatment of her, while also supporting her in her exploration of her new relationship. Now we come to the issue of school. In Victoria, all children aged 6 to 17 must attend school, and any absences must be accounted for, as we have discussed. Section B.1.2 states that I must practice within the bounds of the law. This brings us to wonder why she is skipping school. Statistically, gay and lesbian people are significantly more likely to be bullied at school when compared with their heterosexual peers. And it is important to note that bullying can be subtle and covert. Furthermore, young queer people often struggle with low self-esteem and are more likely to develop mental health problems due to the social stigma they face. It is very likely that Chantelle is being bullied when we consider that her only friends are the supportive gay friends she met through her girlfriend online. It makes sense for her to avoid school under these circumstances, and it follows logically that her schoolwork would suffer as well. However, skipping school is incredibly unsafe, as no one knows where she is or what she's doing. In practice, I would encourage Chantelle to go to school, and with her consent, call the school and ask that she be given a safe place, such as a counsellor's office or sick bay, where she can go to avoid the stresses that she has learned to associate with school. If the school is not as conservative as Chantelle's home environment, perhaps to the point where they have a policy of accepting gay students, I would encourage Chantelle to tell on the bullies in order for her to regain some feeling of control in her school life. And this brings me to my final point. Does Chantelle have a safe way of exploring her sexuality on her own terms? Unfortunately, it is very common for LGBT+ people to seek conversion therapy. That is, therapy used to change someone's sexual orientation to heterosexual. Conversion therapy has had a terrible impact on the LGBT+ community, and earlier this year, the Victorian Premier announced that it will soon be made illegal as it is a purveyor of unwarranted discriminatory behaviour. However, it is possible that Chantelle may seek conversion therapy or be made to go should her parents find out her sexuality. It is my duty, as a psychologist following point 8.1.1, psychologists avoid discriminating unfairly against people on the basis of age, religion, sexuality, ethnicity, gender, disability, or any other basis prescribed by law. And as such, I will do as much as I can to prevent Chantelle from being discriminated against, and this includes her being sent to conversion therapy. It is also important for my competence, as outlined by the APS Ethical Guidelines, section B.1, that I am familiar with the unique challenges that lesbian, gay, and bisexual clients face, and consider the ethical guidelines for psychological practice with lesbian, gay, and bisexual clients, as well as reading other literature about the treatment of LGBT+ people within the field of psychology. In practice, I would encourage Chantelle to use her therapy sessions as a safe place for her to explore her feelings, and I will ensure that I am competent enough to provide that safe space. Here, I have outlined a risk management plan for the issues I have discussed. This ensures that I am able to reflect not only on what decisions I have made, but why I have made those decisions. The first risk is to confidentiality. It is that Peter may feel entitled to confidential information, which would make Chantelle feel unsafe talking to me. I have chosen to deal with this by practicing informed consent, as laid out in 8.3.1 and 8.3.2, where I discuss exactly what will happen over the course of treatment. This will enable me to manage Peter's expectations of therapy and keep Chantelle feeling safe. I have also planned to remain aware for the potential of Chantelle's relationship to be or become unhealthy, and to ensure her well-being by checking in with her regularly with this in mind. I have also considered that Chantelle may not like me talking to the school, so I have outlined that she may decide what I say, or that we can come up with another idea together if need be. I am also aware that Chantelle may be struggling with internalized homophobia, which could lead to her becoming a risk to herself. As such, I will treat her and her identity with respect, as outlined in 8.1.1, to show her that she is worthy of respect regardless of her orientation. Finally, I would like to discuss the two schools of ethics that I feel most influenced my decisions with regard to Chantelle's treatment. They are autonomy ethics, which had me consider Chantelle's right to make her own decisions, and consequentialism, which had me consider the consequences that could evolve from Chantelle's situation, especially with regard to her coming out. Thank you for watching this presentation.